And send it over to Savannah. Van Vliet with the rebound. The Raptors get
that stop. Good job by Fred going in, helping on the rebounding tip. Pascal.
What allowed you to play so well tonight?
Got up, moving. We was moving the ball. Been able to move the ball. Just play together. Today I felt like we played together, move the ball, run and move the ball, I would say.
After the layup.
Why are you making it complicated? It's easy.
So as you're passing the ball, you're passing with two hands. Simple warm-up. How about they extend just like they're shooting?
How y'all doing? This is an impromptu. Let's call it an impromptu live at 4:48 a.m. I thought it would be a good idea to do a little bit of a deeper dive into what a coach like this really brings to the Raptors. Read a lot of articles today suggesting that this move suggests that the Raptors are open to either side, that they're open to rebuilding, but they're also open to retooling. They're also open to running it back, that they felt that Darko was the perfect candidate to lead them in whatever direction. And I know that this has been a bit of a popular take because it seems like the Raptors always opt for flexibility, but I disagree. I do think that this is a decision. I think that this is a commitment to a style of basketball that the team has not played in a very long time. And I thought that this would be a really good time to let Darko explain how he views basketball. So digging up a little bit into him and figuring out how to do this, thought it would be good to have a 5-minute, roughly, it's a 5-minute clip, just listening to what he means or what he believes in offensively, and hopefully what you can expect from the Raptors. And then we'll break it down. This video won't be very long. The last few lives have been 2 hours, 3 hours. Sometimes these can become very intimidating for people. So I wanted to condense all of my thoughts here into about 25 minutes. Don't hold me to that, but we're going to try our best.
To move the team into the right direction. We came up with 5 things that we really believe that's going to help us to move the needle with our team. And we described our offensive identity as playing basketball with 0.5, which means making quick decisions in 0.5 seconds, make a shot, put the ball on the floor, drive it, make a pass. You got to make quick decisions. There is no holding on the ball. There is no playing a lot of ISO ball, and we just wanted to play fast. Second thing was paint to great. We all know the importance of getting to the paint and having great shots. And when we create advantage, we wanted to finish at the rim, but when defense would go into rotations or commit to on ball, we wanted to have paint to great to create better shot. Next layer to our offensive identity was good to great. We did not want to just to get good shots. We wanted to get great shots, and we really believe into equal opportunities on our team. And we wanted to put our guys in a situation they're going to have freedom and to make quick decisions and to play for each other and to create best shots available. Fourth layer was execution. We wanted our guys to play together, but to play inside of certain principles, rules, not sets, but rules. And then one thing that we really believe is going to move the needle for our team was limiting turnovers. And we all know that turnovers lead to easy points. On the other side, it's really hard to control your transition defense.
As you know, in my phrasing, it's called 0 seconds on the website. Same concept. But what I'm wondering, is there a time for the game to slow down and for players to slow down? And if so, what are some of those situations?
Oh, absolutely. We put our offensive identity there so we can always go back in the critical times of the game, like when things are not going the way we want. Like we wanted our identity to be there so we can remind our guys and get them back to that style of play. Of course, there are times it's not the same thing if you're running your offense after made basket, if you're running your offense after missed shot and getting rebound on a live ball turnovers, after free throws. All of those situations demand different way of executing your offense and putting your offense in the best situation to be effective. And for us, 0.5 was the way of to make guys to play together, to depend on each other, to play. We call it beautiful basketball. You know, all of us on our coaching staff, led by Coach Monty, we loved San Antonio way of playing basketball when they were at the peak of their game. And we believe that for our team and the talent level of our guys, that was the right way to go about it, and that we had to play all together. Of course, there are parts of the game that you need to slow down, that you need maybe to run some set, maybe to put the ball in the hands of your best player, or Devin Booker, or Ricky Rubio, or Ayton to post up and to create advantages there. But also we wanted to our baseline style of play always be playing inside 0.5 rules. Play together and to put guys in situations where they're really successful. Now, concept good to great also means that we wanted players to understand that if they have a better option than the first one, they got to see those situations. And we would never be like too strict with guys. Nobody would go on the bench for taking a shot like that. But over the course of the whole year, we kept educating guys of the importance of playing it the right way. We kept showing the film of moving the ball, finding extra passes, finding open shots. And, of course, all of that is backed up with analytics. If we have wide open shot in a corner, that's going to be high quality shot, comparing even Devin Booker taking contested shot that might be from the elbow area. So we also educated guys of importance where the shots are coming from, shot distribution, the value of those shots, and also we wanted guys to have a feeling of playing together. And we identified that was a problem kind of in the past for the team, and some of the guys on the team, they played too much iso ball, and this was our way to establish culture and to establish new things for our team that we believe are going to move our team in the right direction.
So when we say that this is not a sign that the Raptors are moving in a different direction, I mean, pardon me, but absolutely it is. All year, you have seen this channel criticize the way this team has played basketball. We've done deep dives. We did an honest trailer. We've done lives where I yell at people for 3 hours. We've done video breakdowns. We did low light films. Whereas I don't think there is any channel in the world that was more against anything than Pensari Basketball was against the way the Raptors played basketball last season. Is that an overstatement? I don't think so. It was fierce, man. And it was because, honestly, there's a lot at stake here. I saw as the season went on that there was a wearing effect on Scottie. You could see it in his body language. You could see it in his interviews that he just felt deflated. This wasn't what he signed up for. This is not the style of basketball that is conducive to winning. And more importantly than anything, the team was losing. The team is struggling, and you obviously can discern that they're not playing the right way. Your teammates are not happy. You're absorbing it. You're not happy. And I do think that things like that can impact performance in a really big way. But more importantly, I think it can also impact team chemistry. I think it can impact winning. I think it can impact so many things across the board when guys are not connected, guys are not together, and there's a clear reason to you as a young player who's 20 years old, 21 years old, and you can clearly see why. I mentioned it in the previous live. I mentioned it on Instagram as well that I think that this is a huge blessing for Scottie Barnes. But most importantly, I think it's a vote of confidence for Scottie Barnes too. I think it's a vote that everything that he was talking about all year about the Raptors needing to move the ball, everything that Brian was talking about on the Yahoo podcast, where he talked about moving the ball through Scottie. Ty saying Pensar got his own highlights playing in the background. That's true. I just wanted something in the background to move a little bit that wasn't a screensaver, so I decided to put on one of my old videos. And ironically, it is it's a film breakdown. It's one of the first videos I did for Pensar Basketball in which I absolutely shit on this entire offense and broke down play by play what they were doing wrong. And right or wrong, whatever, you can say it. There's been a lot of times where maybe I misread an action, or we're all moving at our own pace here. But I think I've been pretty firm on the fact that the Raptors leaned way too much into isolation basketball, that it wasn't a good brand of basketball to watch. It wasn't conducive to success, and a lot of guys struggled in that. And you see guys like OG Anunoby, you see guys like Scottie Barnes, and of course I'm going to lean a little bit more empathetically towards these guys. I'm going to lean more empathetically to the young players, because those are the players that I actually like on this team. And it seemed like almost every player that I really liked on this team last year got shafted and absolutely screwed over by the system and by who was running it. And it led to a lot of vitriol, and it led to a lot of maybe, hot takey toxicity where, I'm chastising Fred, I'm chastising Pascal. But at the end, it just kind of came down to a system that just worked for very few people, but didn't work for a lot of others. And the Raptors are not the first team in the league to have that issue. We saw that issue with the Boston Celtics with, Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker. Two really big talents, just couldn't figure it out, couldn't figure out how to play together. A lot of teams like this where the right system was needed to unlock one or more guys in that system. And I think whether you're looking at last year when the Raptors refused, to trade Scottie Barnes reportedly for Kevin Durant, or whether you're looking now this offseason where they hire a coach who's philosophically completely in line with how Scottie has voiced openly that he wants to play basketball. You're seeing it over and over again that whether they want to admit it publicly or not, they are building this whole thing around Scottie Barnes. And I think that is music to my ears. Obviously, it's a really good thing to know that they see what I see, that this is a really special player. This is a really special type of leader and a special type of person that you would want to build an organization around. But I also think that this is such a good step in the right direction for him. In terms of, picking a direction, I think, it kind of writes itself, doesn't it? You start talking about not wanting to play isolation basketball. You start talking about wanting to be more egalitarian, moving away from, everything about one guy and moving more towards team. I mean, quite frankly, you can very easily spell it for yourself. There are certain people who are not going to be on board with that vision, right? I don't want to put words in his mouth, but there was a tweet today where, I think someone tweeted at Samson Folk, and they said, this sounds like Scottie's music. Everything that Darko was saying sounds like Scottie's music. And then someone said it's not Fred's music. And then right underneath it, Blake Murphy says, in not so many words, he quotes a couple of bands from Philadelphia, and he said, this is more like Fred's music. I think this is more FVV's music these days. I think, I don't know if Blake knows something about it, but it seems like the writing is on the wall here. And if you're a fan of this channel, if you're a fan of, let's say 90% of the takes that we've had this past year, I mean, no one's going to agree with me 100%. I don't expect them to. But if you're kind of in line with what we've been talking about for the last year, which is mainly Nurse needs to go, right? The team is talented. There's a lot of talented youth that is not being properly used. Scottie is the future, that he is going to be a star or a superstar, depending on how high you are on him, that OG and Scottie can be, a formidable duo to build around. If you are able, and that Nick Nurse, Fred VanVleet, and Pascal Siakam were a really big issue in terms of why the Raptors struggled as much as they did last year, despite the fact that they were effectively the best player, the second best player, and the head coach. You can really, really start to see that everything that's happening this offseason is a vote for all of those things being true, isn't it? You're hiring a developmental coach. Why? because you believe you have talent that's not being developed. You're hiring a coach who is a complete 180 departure from the way you played basketball for the last 2 years. Why? Because you're acknowledging that the way you played basketball wasn't appealing or effective. Now, here's where the 10% we probably do disagree with in terms of how talented the rest of this roster really is. How talented is a Christian Koloko? Is he a rotation player? How talented is a Precious Achiuwa? How much of that quote unquote potential is really untapped, right? How talented is an OG Anunoby? Can he be a solid second option? Can Scottie step into being a first option? Can he, offset, his shooting woes from last year? Are these guys better shooters than they showed last year? That's where we probably disagree, because I happen to be a lot higher on some of the ancillary pieces, secondary, third pieces on the Raptors team than most people are. Even some diehard homers probably would agree that, maybe they're not seeing it with certain guys on this team. The Raptors need a drastic talent upgrade. The Raptors don't have shooters. The Raptors don't have talented youth. The Raptors don't have baseline talent. All of these things have been said. To me, the hiring of a guy, known for development is one of two things, is a signature of one of two things. Number one, you believe you have talent that has not been developed. Number two, you're planning to bring in a lot of talent that needs developing. And both things can be true. Both things can be true here. I think this is not only a vote for Scottie, but I think this is a vote for Precious Achiuwa. I think this is a vote for Christian Koloko. When you're going to draft these raw prospects, right? Because let's just be honest, most NBA players, I don't want to say most NBA players, a lot of NBA players don't understand how to play basketball. Does that sound kind of crazy to say? But it's true. Like the real way to play basketball, the correct reads, the correct reactions, the correct, even like how you're moving off the ball. Like there's so much stuff like this. Precious Achiuwa doesn't get it. Chris Boucher, he doesn't get it. Like you can watch these guys and you can say 7 out of 10 times they're doing the wrong thing on the basketball court. You need teachers. You need teachers and you need willing students. Now, we can probably debate till we're blue in the face about whether or not the Raptors have either capable or willing students. Is Precious Achiuwa coachable? I don't know. I've never coached him. Have you coached him? You don't know that either. But Masai seems to think that he's someone worth developing, which means that he's dealt with him, he's worked with him, he's seen him every single day, and he probably believes that he is someone who can be coached up, right? You can't coach up lazy. If a player is not willing to do the work, you're not going to be able to get anything out of them. And I get that, right? You can't coach up length, a lack of size, a lack of athleticism. If a guy is just too short, he doesn't have the wingspan, he doesn't have the burst, he doesn't have the athleticism, he doesn't have the size to play in the league. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's no amount of coaching that is going to change that outcome. But if you have guys who are willing, coachable, hardworking, then really what it comes down to is teaching. You need to teach. Now, for years, I believe the Raptors did a great job of teaching. I think, you can attribute this to Jerry Stackhouse. You can attribute this to Jama. You can attribute this to Patrick Mutombo. You can attribute this to a lot of people. I think even partially you can attribute this to Nick Nurse. You can attribute this to the vets. You can attribute this to, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan. It was like a school. It was like a basketball school. And in that type of situation, you can have drastically unforeseen outcomes like Pascal Siakam going from 27th overall 27th overall pick all the way to a 2-time All-NBA guy. I don't think that happens in every situation. I don't think if Pascal Siakam gets drafted to the Houston Rockets that he's this player. It takes so much to take a guy who's at that place as a prospect to bring him up to this level. It takes so many developmental hours. It takes so much commitment from the player, but it also takes an organization that is willing to correctly identify that player, believe in that player. Now, you ask me, honestly, as prospects at the same age, at age 20, the Raptors have 2 guys who I would take over Pascal Siakam easily. And that's Precious Achiuwa and Scottie Barnes. At the same age, now don't tell me what Pascal became. And then say, well, do you really think Precious Achiuwa is going to become a 2-time All-NBA? That's not what I'm arguing. I'm saying raw basketball talent. I'm talking athleticism. I'm talking commitment. I'm talking feel. I'm talking all of it. If you watch Pascal Siakam at age 20, you watch Precious Achiuwa at age 20, and you came away thinking Pascal Siakam was a better prospect, you're crazy. He wasn't. There's so many tools here. And I think as much as this is a vote for OG Anunoby and Scottie Barnes, Precious Achiuwa, I think this is a vote for Masai. I think this is Masai voting for himself, saying, you know what, I didn't just forget how to draft. I didn't just forget how to scout. Malachi Flynn, I still believe in this guy to some extent. Delano Banton, I think we saw something in him. Why has he not become what Norman Powell became? Why have prospects just stopped developing in Toronto? Why is OG Anunoby still having balance issues? Why is he still not correctly reading the game? Why does Precious Achiuwa always seem to be lost on offense and defense? Why is he not being put in positions to score? Even your players who are succeeding, you could argue they're not optimal. The way that they're succeeding is not optimal. And so you can consistently make a case that pieces have been underutilized or misused. So what does this mean? I think this means that the Raptors are picking a direction, and that direction is Scottie Barnes. Now, one way or another, whether we're going to talk about, and it doesn't matter if Fred comes back, Pascal's traded, OG traded, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we talk about franchise. When we talk about the future of the Denver Nuggets, no one is talking about KCP, Christian Brown, and Aaron Gordon. Everyone's talking about what's going to happen with Jokic, right? Is he going to stay? Is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to stay committed? Is he going to be really good in his 30s? Because if he's not, the whole thing doesn't work, right? You gotta identify what you're building around before you start to build, because it dictates, it starts to influence every other move that you make, right? See, if I know that I'm building the Boston Celtics around Jason Tatum, my roster decisions are going to be a little bit different. My coaching decisions are going to be different. And when I'm deciding, hey, Joe Mazzulla, yes or no, the first person I'm asking is Jason Tatum. I'm not asking Marcus Smart first. I'm not asking Al Horford. I'm not asking Jaylen Brown. I'm asking my franchise guy. That's just how this has to work, because you're not going to be able to please everybody. You're not going to be able to please everybody. And I think one of my biggest fears, honestly, watching last year, was that, oh my God, do they really think that long-term they can build this thing around Pascal Siakam? Is that why they're doing it this way? And maybe it's not. Because this is not a Pascal Siakam move. This is not a Fred VanVleet move. This is firmly a move that signals to me that Scottie Barnes, they had a conversation with Scottie at the exit interview. He voiced to them largely what he's been voicing publicly for the entire year, which is that the ball needs to move from side to side. The players need to be given more of an opportunity. The ball needs to stick a little bit less. There needs to be less isolation, more team movement, more facilitation, more of a commitment to the defensive end, more accountability. And every single prayer was answered with this hire. So you ask me, who are they really listening to? Do you think this was Fred VanVleet's first choice? To fire Nick Nurse, his coach, his guy? I think most of us have been worried for a while that, due to misguided omerta or loyalty, that the Raptors would somehow prioritize the feelings and nostalgia or sense of duty towards Fred and Pascal and squander the youth. And I don't think that this move, or any move really that has been made in the last little while, really signals that. Even the Jakob Poeltl thing, as much as can be made about his pre-existing relationship with Fred VanVleet, how much it helped Fred, I think it is a move that is towards the direction of Scottie. You know who was singing Jakob's praises literally for months after the trade, every single time he had a chance? Scottie. He loved playing with him. Yeah, we can argue it's not the most optimal fit. Neither guy can shoot really well. Fine. They found a way to play together. Smart players do tend to do that. So long term, I have no issue with that pairing. I think that they're both going to be fine. A lot of people realizing that it is 5 a.m. Giovanni saying, Rob, I believe if Precious is to develop, OG will be moved because Delano needs to play time also. This is weird logic to me. There's very weird logic to me. First of all, I don't know what you have with Delano Banton, but I think we've seen some very intriguing hints of upside. But I don't see why you can't have all those guys. I don't see that at all. Rob, with Darko hiring 100% now, Fred VanVleet is not coming back because he knows they will play Fred more off the ball, which he hates. Honestly, exactly. That's exactly it. This move to me, look, here's what I think happened. There's been a lot of speculation about why the Raptors took so long to make their decision, right? I think if Fred VanVleet is coming back, I think he had to be somewhat on board with this decision, right? But if he's coming back, you have a very different trajectory in terms of what you're doing next year, right? Because if he's coming back, most likely you're not using your mid-level exception. Otherwise, you'd be like a tax team. If he's coming back, most likely Gary Trent's not coming back. If he's coming back, you definitely are aiming for the playoffs, which means your roster is probably going to be a little bit older. You might even entertain, I mean, God, I hope they don't, but you might have even entertained moving on to 13th pick if you got the right offer for, a player who could be a massive upgrade right now. You probably holding on to Pascal because I don't see how you can keep Fred but then let go of Pascal. It doesn't really make sense in terms of timelines. There's so many things that change once you take him out of the equation. Most importantly, I think what changes is the type of coach that you're going to get, right? It's a sort of symbiotic thing. Like, it has to work both ways. The coach has to be comfortable with, Fred's going to be my point guard. This is going to be objective. I'm going to be coaching a team that's going to be expecting to be a competitive team in the playoffs versus I'm going to be coaching a whole bunch of kids. We're not expecting to make the playoffs. We'll be lucky to make the play-in. We'll try to be competitive. We're going to try to shift around the culture. We're going to be Scottie at the one, a whole bunch of youth. We might move on from Pascal at the trade deadline and exchange him for a whole bunch of young players depending on how the season's going and just bottom out. Okay, that's a completely different job. So I think that's what held it up. Now, we've seen Fred VanVleet's opt-in date move back for some reason. I'm not entirely clear on why that happened. But I think this is a sign that he is gone. And I wonder what that means for this team going forward, right? But I think that may have been what held up this Darko hire. That for the longest time you had to consider, and you'd be crazy not to consider. He's a very smart guy. Fred VanVleet is a very smart guy. And he's going to be, your point guard. He's your captain. He's your leader. How can you not consider him in any coach you hire? You'd be crazy. I'm not saying you just hire the guy that he wants you to hire, but how could you not consider him? He's going to be the, he's running your offense and whatever. So I think we're going to get a chance to actually see Scottie ball, which is what Maroon Prince is saying here. Finally, we begin Scottie ball. I think you're going to see it. And incidentally, I think you can build something very similar to what the Denver Nuggets did with Nikola Jokic in terms of this culture of selflessness. I think it starts on day one. I think it starts in training camp. I think you're going to see a shift. There are guys on this team already who already have that sensibility. And then there are guys who are not that way. And I'm very curious to see how they will potentially deal with the guys who are not that way. Can those guys be cajoled? Can they be convinced to kind of come to the other side? Or are they going to have to be dealt? Or are they just going to be lingering around? They're going to be a problem. Because Otto, he's a selfless guy. Totally plays the right way. Scottie, selfless guy, plays the right way. OG, selfless guy, plays the right way. I think Malachi Flynn can be a selfless player who plays the right way. I don't know what you're going to have with him. I don't know what Darko can unlock with him. But he's had a lot of success with point guards, man. From Ja to Tyus Jones to DeAnthony Melton, there's been a lot of point guards who developed under that guy. He's also had a pretty close relationship with Russell Westbrook. So I think he understands that position very, very well, the point guard position. I think that's just sort of how he sees the game. And I think that's going to be a really easy and smooth communication with Scottie Barnes. I haven't heard what Jordi Fernandez was asking for. I have no idea about that. From what I'm understanding, he was not one of the finalists. Maybe something happened in his interview. I liked him. I liked him a lot, largely for the same reasons that I like Darko. It's proponent for team basketball, really solid pedigree, really good roots with a lot of teams that have the type of culture that the Raptors are hoping to implement. We're not trading Fred for Kyle Lowry or Russ. It'll be a pick and a young guy. A pick and a young guy. How are you getting a pick and a young guy and $30 million or close to $30 million in matching salary back? You're going to have to take some salary back in this deal. Now, if a team is willing to potentially move off a contract that, maybe they don't want, that's a little bit longer for Fred VanVleet, and they're willing to toss you a pick or a young player to sort of sweeten the pot, kind of like what the Miami Heat did with the Goran Dragic thing, that's a completely different situation. But I don't think that you're going to be getting a young guy and a pick for Fred VanVleet. It'd be very hard to do, and I just don't see, unless that young guy is on a max contract, and then in which case I just don't understand it. But yeah. Anyway, I wanted to keep this somewhat short, but I do want to say that to those people saying that this is just a sign that the Raptors are willing to go in either direction, I think the direction has been chosen, and I think that direction is Scottie Barnes. I think the direction is youth. And regardless of when they pull the plug on this whole Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, this whole experiment, right? And look, these guys are still in their 20s, and we're not talking about aging vets and 35-year-olds. These guys can fit into Scottie's timeline as well. What is clear to me is that based on the decisions that have been made over the last, let's say, 20 months, I think it's very clear to me that they see Scottie as the face of this program going forward. And obviously, I am the happiest person in the world to see it. I think that the coaching hire signals that they agreed with a lot of the talking points of this channel. And I'm really happy to hear that too, because I got to be honest, felt like a bit of a minority. Felt like I was screaming, and people were calling us crazy, right? I mean, because there were other channels out there that were just saying, no, everything's fine. Everything's great. This is the way basketball is supposed to be played. And I'm just so happy that Masai Ujiri does not agree with that. Anyway, if you're new around here, absolutely hit like, subscribe. I can't believe at 5:19 in the morning that we got 61 people watching this, but that is perhaps the greatest thing in the world about having a pretty international audience is that we always have people who can join into these lives. It's weird to do a 4:45 in the morning or 4:50 in the morning live, but my sleep schedule is completely screwed up. So yeah, this is when I decided to do it. Anyways, have a great day, guys, and yeah, talk to you guys later. Peace.